Welcome back. My name is Lynn Azarki. I am director of the Kidsbridge Youth Center in New Jersey. We serve thousands of children and also author of The Empathy Advantage, coaching children to be kind, respectful, and successful. And as you know, I seek the community to find people who are giving back. And today we have Blair Miller.
Hi, Lynn.
Who really gives back. I'm so excited that you took the time to be with me here today.
I'm really, really happy to meet you and talk to you.
So thank you for all that you do for the community, and we'll talk about that. So through my youth education experience, I've learned empathy is really job one. To start with self-empathy, then empathy for others, and then finally empathy action, empathic action, being an upstander, stand up and speak out, if you've heard of that.
Yes.
And so I would love to talk to you about what inspired you to give back in the way that you do. Tell us about what you do.
So I am the founder and director of Neighbors Kindness Project. We were formerly known as Mr. Rogers Neighbors Kindness Project, who was a big inspiration in my life, which hopefully we can talk about.
And mine too. We'll pivot back to Mr. Rogers because
yes, such a love.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes. And the inspiration behind the start of my organization was actually my brother. So as you know, in 2020, we all were really hit with the global COVID
pandemic.
Yeah. I had lost my job. I was working at Princeton University Art Museum and having a great time working in the arts. I studied piano performance and arts administration, and I was really enjoying my time there. But because the arts were the biggest and first to be hit, because it's, you know, a social endeavor, people going out. So I realized, wow, I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands and be sitting at home with my high energy puppy. And I was thinking I do better when I have structure, when I'm out of the house. So I wanted to start volunteering, and I called up all of the homeless shelters, and I realized that nobody was open. And I started thinking, what are all of these homeless people in need going to be doing, and how can I help? My brother has a history of addiction, mental health issues. He had been homeless for a stint of his life. So it's a cause I really care about. And I just started the next day. I called a few people I knew. Everyone needed board approval. As you know, nonprofits, there's a way of doing things.
Yes, of course.
And I was just sort of a lone wolf, and I just jumped in and made things happen and started realizing how can we help get people in need what they need, products, meals, gifts even. And instead of relying on donations, because a lot of the local businesses were also really hit and struggling, I thought, how can I have people who have money? Princeton was a very affluent town. A lot of people do care and want to give back. How can I give them an opportunity to support local businesses? And through that avenue, also help people in need. So right now, our cycle of kindness, we call it our business model. You can go into participating neighbors' businesses. We have 35 we partner with. And you can add on a meal, a product, or a gift.
35 businesses.
35 businesses.
Who give you money to give back. And
so we have actually, so someone like you, for example, Lynn, you're a very kind, considerate person, having just met you.
Thank you.
You can go into, let's say, La Mezzaluna, which is one of our neighbors' businesses. It's a restaurant.
Yes.
And while you go there with your daughter and your son and you're having dinner, you can see on the menu it says Neighbors Kindness Project. It says a little bit about what we do, and it prompts you to add on a $25 entree or an appetizer for someone in need. So you're increasing unit sell-through, you're helping the employees, the business retain their employees.
Wow.
And then all of those paid for meals get made fresh Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the days that we're open.
I've never seen that. So somebody who goes to one of your participating restaurants, it would be on the menu.
That's right.
And it's just, they add it to the fare, and it's like
That's right.
an
So we're
automatic
helping
donation.
Exactly. So we're helping the
Wow.
business, and we're helping the
How
community.
do you go into a restaurant? That's really confidence, and ask them to participate in this program.
That's a
You're
great-
not for profit.
Yeah, not
Almost
quite,
a not-for-profit.
Drum
Okay.
roll, drum roll. We're getting
Okay.
ready, so soon.
Good luck with
hopefully.
that.
Thank you. I need the luck. So I think it comes from just having a background in sales. I had my own business when I was 11 years old. It was called, get ready for an alliteration, it was called Blair's Bombastic Beach Beverage Business.
Wait, Blair's Bombastic, great word. and
Beach
what?
beverage business.
And
So
what did you sell?
I sold lemonade, iced tea, sodas, and it was great because I had to sell a lot of summer reading. We had so many books, and I love to read. I always have my nose in books. And my mom said, you need to be out of the house. You either need to be doing piano or you need a job.
Good for
so
your
I
mom.
started my own business, and I made $18,000 just working a few months, a couple of years. I saved up. And so I think and then I started working at Ralph Lauren when I was in college. Same thing my mom said.
Right,
not
very
paying for your books.
entrepreneurial.
And
What
so
drew you to fashion? Ralph Lauren, that's a big switch. Why?
Well, because I needed a job. I was going to school in Princeton, and I needed a job, and I walked in, and what really appealed to me about the way Ralph Lauren runs their company is if you're in sales or sales management, you have your book of business and you can run it yourself. So I was really good. I had the highest client retention rate. I had the highest sales in our East Coast region. And I just loved seeing business growth, not because I was getting something out of it. I mean, yes, I always like to push myself. You know, I always like to push the needle in things and grow, and I'm really interested in growing. But for me, just helping businesses expand and grow, and clients, and satisfy the needs and wants. And so now it's really rewarding because now I'm satisfying the needs, and there's a really big need. It's not just, you know, how can I get a new pair of shoes for somebody, or a pair
exactly.
of, you know, or help a team develop, or, you know, this and that, which was really rewarding in and of itself. But now we're
more
addressing,
satisfying.
Yeah.
So I had an equal journey. I got an MBA, and then I went into advertising, and it was great. You know, I had a great job. I was making good money. I was in New York City, and then I started to emotionally, I can't think of the word, maybe decline, is like I was selling dog food and wine and consumer goods, and my heart wasn't in it. And I left there and turned, long story short, to the not-for-profit world, where I was doing things to help people and educate children, and it was so much more satisfying.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Most people, I feel like it's the antithesis. Most people go from, you know, nonprofit to for-profit because I guess they get hungry for something else.
Right.
But I think that's
different
really
motivation.
a wholesome. Yeah. It's sort of like it shows. It sort of shows. Oops. Sorry. It shows in here that you really care about something deeper.
Yeah,
so I value that.
And it's so rewarding to be helping others. So let's walk in the shoes, empathy lens, through the people that you're helping. I mean, how do you identify who you want to help and support? Families, kids, seniors. What epiphany did you have in this transition to say, I really want to give back to others?
Well, I think I've always, since the day I was born, I've always cared about helping other people. So I'm not really sure that was my motivating factor, more than it was more sort of, as I explained, there's a need, and the need isn't just a single dimension, it's a multidimensional need. And so I sort of had a bird's eye view, and I thought, okay, the businesses are suffering, people are suffering, there's a lot of wealth. So how can, kind of like a chess game, how can I move these pieces
around? Match it together.
And make it sure that everyone has a win, everyone has a benefit, everyone has a piece of the pie. So I think for me, it was addressing income inequality. That was my motivating factor.
That struck
because there's
you.
a lot of wealth, and kind of inherent in our model, or a cycle of kindness, as I call it. You know, we're taking people who have money, and in so doing, people are realizing, wow, this many bags are needed at McCaffrey's, this many meals are needed in Princeton, but Princeton, there's a $3 million mansion across the street from my house.
There are low-income people in Princeton and Trenton and Mercer County. Let me just pull back a little bit and ask you, your parents, did they contribute to this culture of giving back and caring about others, or did you just come out of the hopper this way?
That's a great question. You know, it's interesting because I just went to, my cousin is pregnant, and she had a baby shower, and my mom and I had kind of we have a long-standing, I would say, tense relationship. We're not very close.
Okay.
And I grew up with a single mom. My dad had left when I was 3. My mom ended up getting married when I was 14, and then they ended up divorced. But that man, Ronnie is his name, he adopted me, and I'm very close with him.
Nice.
But so I came up in kind of a broken household, and my mom was working. She was a teacher. We had a nanny. She was always not really accessible, and I just never really connected with my mom. But I remember, but at this baby shower, my mom slipped me a note that one of my science teachers had written her, and I'm not sure why she did that, why she wanted me to read this note. But it was basically saying how I was very kind and smart and all these things. And I think my mom just never knew how to say that.
She might have been damaged herself.
Or recognize that or something.
Yeah.
But through my teachers and my professors, I sort of realized that. And I think, if anything, this one man, the teacher, the science teacher who had written this letter that I still have with me, I carry it now with me wherever I go. It's a nice shot of confidence. But she had thought he was very odd, and she had always been very standoffish to him. And I think she said recently, you're the reason I became friendly with him, because you never judged him.
Wow.
So I think, to answer your question sort of along about way, I think the answer is, I think I was born like that. I think.
Right, born kind.
Well, I don't know if I'm kind. I definitely have my
Well,
moments,
you have the kindness project, right?
Not judgmental. I think there's a certain sense of openness.
Well, if you're helping hundreds of others, I'd have to call you kind and very empathetic. So from the research that I've done in my book, I have found that kids are born with different amounts of empathy. And people think, oh, that's what that's what you have the rest of your life. You can increase it. So in the youth center, we do pre and post surveys for the kids who come in. We're doing empathetic empowerment exercises. And so we measure a statistically significant increase in the amount of empathy. So empathy can be raised.
And what are your percentages, have you found?
Statistically significant, you do these analyses that show that you're moving the needle. So later on we can talk about percentages and such. Not the needle for everyone, but for most of the kids. Wow. So my message to you and to the people listening is, like, when you are having people of wealth and means to give back and help other people, feels good. You are increasing their empathy. They are walking in the shoes of your clients and the people you're helping. So you are increasing empathy for adults. My raison d'etre is to speak to parents and educators and say, you can increase empathy for children. Starting in preschool, we need to start younger, right, to increase the empathy quotient. Other than madmen and people who are psychotic, there are limits, but in 98% of our brains, you can increase empathy, and I've done it and I've measured it. So you might now, after our conversation, have empathy more, on your radar, because self-empathy, again, people who are broken, or the recent trauma from COVID, abuse, anxiety, stress. So we have to be mindful of that when we're talking to people. Be active listeners is a good empathetic way to listen, and then to increase this empathy for others. And of course, again, action, which you're doing and living.
Right.
So that's the scaffold, the way we build it. So let's talk about our favorite person. So I'm a little bit older than you, Mr. Rogers, and I just, sometimes I catch him on TV. I don't know if you saw the movie.
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, you must see the movie.
I don't have a TV. I'm such a poor excuse for a
millennial. All right, but you must see. Tom Hanks does a really good job. So here is this, I think he was a preacher first, and then he realizes there's this void and this abyss where children are not, there's not kindness projected and activities and welcoming to children and glued to the screens, as you notice this void and how you are fulfilling the needs for so many people. So tell me why you didn't grow up with Mr. Rogers on your television. How did he come to your consciousness and your inspiration?
Well, I wasn't allowed to watch TV, and it's funny because I find when you grow up with strict rules, you either adhere to them or you do the opposite. You sort of break free. True. And I adhere to them.
I have some rebellers in my family, so I hear you.
I wasn't the rebel. I have my moments. But in any case, I was allowed to watch Mr. Rogers on cable television, and I was only allowed to watch Fridays for a brief period of time. And I think, speaking of empathy, I think because he was a man, and there was something about the cardigan, he was very approachable and accessible, and I didn't really my brother was really into cartoons, and I have such an active imagination. I believed in in fairies until I was way too socially acceptable to believe in fairies. But there's something about on television, I like a real person. I want to feel like someone's really talking to me. And I always felt like Mr. Rogers, I just felt him, and he, of course, he was an ambassador for kindness, and I loved the whole, idea of a neighborhood. And now, I'm trying to help neighborhoods, and it's about, listening and making space and making time to know your neighbors. I don't think we do that in today's world anymore. And actually, speaking of the neighborhood, one of our neighbors' businesses is McCaffrey's. It's a family-owned business, everyone knows, and they're wonderful. They employ children with disabilities. There's this one man, I'm not sure how old he is, but his name is Frankie, and he's a really, really wonderful person. And every time he sees me come in the early mornings to do my shifts or in the evenings to do shifts, to prepare these bags of products that we have people buy to help their business, but also are people in need, he says, "Mrs. Rogers." He calls me from across the whole parking lot.
Mrs. Rogers, that's adorable.
And I don't have the heart to tell him
No, it's
not
okay.
married. And I'm sure Mr. Rogers' wife in heaven is rolling in her grave thinking like, who is this woman?
No, that's so sweet and so simple. I mean, the whole identity in Cosmos has been, centered in you. That's so sweet.
So I really am, and he said, he always laments, he said, Blair, they don't make TV like that anymore. And like you're such an inspiration to me, but I think one day I'd like to have my own show where, sort of like a Mr. Rogers, but I was toying with the idea of calling it Miss Blair's Orchestra Fair, where you're teaching kids how to be kind.
We so need that today.
Is
two things. Number one,
book,
well, and I have a chapter on media because it's so disconcerting to me. I mean, social media was invading my house when my kids were in middle school, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to take control of it. And I had a conversation actually yesterday. So two things, the TV and the internet, to watch it with your kids, have discussion with your kids and significant other, because turning it off doesn't stop kids, from watching and interacting. And then social media, what we try and teach in the center is that kids should not be mean and be bullying. It's permanent forever. And that the consequences of being mean and passing on exclusion, kids feeling isolated, kids not belonging, that we need to teach kids the impact of what they're doing to be kind online. And so that's a whole nother set of skills. But I love your idea of a show. I mean, they should put Mr. Rogers back on TV. But I think, there's a lot of cartoons in there, and it's more diversity is coming and the values. But there seems to be like a point in time where the programming for kids, which is nice and kindness and respectful, stops, and then you're just getting into meanness and exclusion, reality shows and Mean Girls, and it's very upsetting to me. I think parents need to be more engaged and more involved.
I saw that in your book, and some of the questions parents, you sort of
talk, listen, and talk.
I think the question, I don't know if you agree, Lynn, but I think the question becomes, I don't have kids. I don't think that's the right path for me. I'm not really sure. I love children, love being around children.
Well, you're helping a lot of children, aren't you?
Yes, and some of them are volunteers, which is
wow.
Really,
you have
really
teenagers volunteering?
Oh, all ages, 8 to...
And how do you find these people? You're everywhere.
They come to us, I guess, and I just...
And they're delivering packages of food?
They do everything. They have ideas,
Assemble.
They have to do strategy, they go into the businesses, some of them, they prepare the packages.
Are you serving Princeton only or Mercer County?
Princeton, predominantly.
Princeton now.
Yeah.
Princeton now, and then?
I want to expand to D.C.
There you
next
go.
Plan, New York, other places.
Don't forget Trenton, please.
Yes.
Trenton, Ewing, Lawrence.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think parents can. I know you talk about this in your book, and it's something you think about often. For me, it's not just small talk. I think it's important, to be able to have small talk, so to speak. But
right.
I think the questions that you ask children isn't just like, how's your day today? It's really, how are you feeling? How, kind of tapping into the emotions and letting kids process that and work through it.
Active listening. And rule number 1 is put down your phone.
Yeah,
Right? Put
Yes.
down those phones, because kids have too much media today. And then the research is saying not enough face-to-face, which
Right.
we're doing now. Active listening. We're listening to one another, that the kids feel appreciated. I have one story where I walked into a restaurant and I saw father and son having lunch. I know the father travels a lot and he's very busy. And so they're both on their phones. I was so crestfallen, because, like, no, this is not how you do it. You have like a half an hour for lunch, please. And it was so sad to me, and it's sort of symbolic of parents pay
Right.
attention. Kids grow up so quickly. Same thing with, your friends. Less phone time, less media.
I think I'm the opposite extreme, and I think I unintentionally hurt people, and I don't mean to, but I call it High Blair Nation, which is sort of a bad
Say
pun.
again?
High Blair Nation, so
Okay.
hibernation, because I love
'Cause
bears
you're Blair.
and Blair
Okay.
and bear, and
You're Blair.
I like a good pun.
Okay.
But in any case, sometimes I do so much and I work so much and I'm so in tune with everybody else's needs, and I don't know how to recalibrate. I don't have that healthy balance of what do others need, what do I need. And sometimes the only way I know to recalibrate, or if the news makes me feel like, not to get political, but if all of a sudden something's happening and I'm a big, non-proponent of that, and I want to go and advocate, and it's sort of like I've got to work, I've got to advocate, and I just feel called to action constantly because I'm such a doer, and I want to do, and go. And sometimes the only way I know to recalibrate is just to shut off social media, shut off the phone.
Healthy, very healthy.
Is it though? I'm not sure. We
Well,
need you to write a new book on
can't
that.
watch all the news. I have to fast
Yeah.
forward through some things because I take it to bed with me. I mean, I
Yeah.
see the bombing in Kharkiv, Ukraine,
Right.
and the show is over, but it stays with me. So I think
right.
back to self-empathy, self-compassion, you can only take so much in, and for our listeners, you have to take care of yourself so
Right.
that you can help others, right?
Right. But and that whole oxygen mask, you have to put it on yourself first. But
Amen.
how do we do that?
Very
And what's
good.
What's the timing of that?
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, because you're doing so much for others, and you intend to grow and help and give back, and it may be now it's food. There may be other ways that you reach out to people. For people listening, parents, teachers, single people, like, how can we get them to help others? Because like other people will do that, or like, I can't do that, I have to take care of myself. But just one little thing once a week or once a month for others. How can we inspire other people to have empathy and take action? What would you suggest?
I think that's a great question. I don't think I'm powerful enough to know the answer and what would work for everybody. I can suggest that I think listening, to tie into your work, is the most important thing. I think, you said Trenton, you said Needs in Princeton. I think there are so many organizations, wonderful organizations, and they do a lot of similar things. But what do the people want? I don't think a lot of organizations really ask the question and hear the answer.
What do people need and want?
What do people need and want?
Right, by
And
listening, not
by
presuming.
listening and not presuming.
Right.
And I think that, I survey every day. Sometimes it gets too overwhelming, and I tell people, the complaint department is closed today, friends. And I'll say it in Spanish too, and they laugh. But, and the reason they're so vocal is not because they're complaining. Effectively, it's because they know I'm listening and I'm making a difference. And sometimes they don't like lining up, so they want tickets and they want to wait in their cars. So I make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes they'll say we want 2 products and we don't need this sort of category. And I rearrange it and I make it happen. And I think I think listening and just kind of going up to your neighbor and knocking on the door and saying, I'm Blair and I'm new. And I'm new to the neighborhood, and is there anything I can do for you? Back then, years and years ago, if someone needed a pound of sugar, they'd knock on your door, a couple, paper towels.
We're
they'd come to
losing
you.
that sense of community.
And I think when you welcome that sense of community through kindness, then suddenly, and you do listen and you do have empathy, suddenly you have all these answers. You know how to help. And maybe it's as simple as, knowing that there is a need. Maybe it's as simple as asking someone a question. Maybe it's as simple as checking in on or up on someone. But to do a little shameless plug here, if someone does want to help,
Yes, of course.
Neighbors Kindness Project, you can go to our participating businesses and add on meals products.
And what is your website?
MrRogersNeighbors.com. It's
Mr. Rogers
embarrassingly
Neighbors.
out of date, so find us on Instagram instead.
Okay.
Which is Neighbors Kindness Project.
Okay.
And we have tons of ways that people can help, but not everyone wants to help in our
Well,
ways.
they can just do one little thing, and I think that, you know, for some people, maybe just writing a check or signing a petition online or helping you, or, I mean, there's thousands of things you can do, and it really makes people feel good. I do also want to share that, you know, I'm doing also volunteer work in addition to Kids Bridge, and I'm, of course, writing another book. But what I love about my volunteer work is that you're surrounding yourself with the nicest people.
Yes.
These are people who care about others. Right? These are people who are having empathic action. They don't have to have the most confidence in the world or have all the skills. And this is something we teach at Kids Bridge. Everyone, you don't have to be good at everything, right? You're good at something. Everybody has a strength, and then people should start with that. But I just love the people, and I'm sure the people who gravitate to you, they want to help and give back. These are the people you want to surround yourself with, yes?
We have a family. I mean, we know each other's birthdays, and we really...
That's lovely. It's your family.
It is a family.
Yeah.
And
How many people are helping you?
We've had over 40 people
Wow.
come and go during COVID. Everyone was from home, so we had a big group of people. Then kids went back to college, and they sent me their graduation pictures. And no, I love everybody I work with. I really do have love for everyone.
Congratulations on your success. I was so glad that Chuck introduced us and to learn of what you're doing. It really, people are in need even more so because of
one
COVID.
thing I'd like to say, yes.
Yeah.
The need is only getting worse. I think right now that people think COVID's gone because people aren't wearing their masks anymore, and it feels like it's over. We want it to be over, but the aftermath, the financial aftermath, is going to be here for a very, very long time.
Sadly, yes. Well, thank you for what you do, your empathy, your empathic action, a busy person. So I'm glad you made the time today to inspire our listeners. And so that's all for today. Thank you for visiting us. This is Lynn Ozarki signing off, Empathy in Action. Just do one little thing to help others, and check out my book for parents and teachers, coaching children to be kind, respectful, and successful. Thanks, and stay tuned for the next episode coming soon. Bye-bye. Be well.